Bow. What up, y'all? I want to welcome y'all back to another episode of the Trifecta Podcast. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification button on, man. We coming to you guys throughout the whole year. I understand the playoffs is done, but we got more content coming soon. We got interviews coming up. We got debate style stuff. We got different topics. We got different sports. We got a bunch of different things we got in the works, man. So follow your boy Rondo. Keep tuning in at the Trifecta Podcast. I appreciate all you guys' support and lock into your boy Rondo at the Trifecta Podcast. So we got Boston versus the Dallas Mavericks. So as you guys know, it was a gentleman's sweep, but I kind of want to give props to both teams, man. They're both really good teams, great teams at that. Dallas was a team that nobody thought would get this far, man. Honestly, like they were a team that was out the playoffs last year. I think they were the 11th seed maybe. To get all the way to the NBA Finals as a 5th seed is really something else, man. Boston Celtics, they've been the best team all year long. Best record, best net rating, best shooting splits. Like, they've been doing that all year long, man. So that's kind of what's my thinking going into the NBA Finals. Like, people are sleeping on Boston, man. I get it. Tatum and Brown aren't the greatest, scorers in the world in terms of they're not going to give you 30, 40 points every single game. But as a team, as a collective, they're a great team, man. Holiday played well. Porzingis, Derek White hitting threes. Al Horford at 38, 39, hitting threes, winning his first NBA Finals. Pritchard hitting half-court shots. Sam Hauser hitting timely threes. I mean, they just got a bunch of just really good basketball players. That's the best way to describe the Boston Celtics. Really good basketball players. But, like I mentioned before, Boston just outclassed the Dallas Mavericks. Styles make fights, and this fight was not meant for Dallas, man. But let's get into some stats here. So, the biggest thing was the three-point shooting. We know Boston has been a team that has shot a million threes this year. They had one of the best shooting splits. They shot the most threes by a large margin, and those are the majority of their attempts. I actually think 47% of their shots are threes. 46, 47%, around that range. So they generate a lot of three-pointers. But the difference in this series were it was a bunch of good three-pointers. It was a lot of dribble, kick, pass, swing, pass to the corner, three. Guys are wide open. They got a lot of dribble penetration, and they cut down on the step-back threes. And just the bad shots and the forced shots and the early shot clock shots, they cut down on that. Tatum did shoot a lot of step-back threes, but it's kind of his game. But overall, man, they had a lot of ball movement on those three-point shots. I'm curious to see how many of those shots were assisted upon in terms of threes. I'm pretty sure it was a high percentage. But just assist numbers in general, Boston won that battle as well. They actually blew the Mavericks out. So Boston had 121 assists to Dallas's 84 assists. So they were moving that ball around. Dallas, on the other hand, I cannot say the same for them. They were very stagnant on offense, but it's kind of to be expected because Boston, this is what I mean when I say styles make fights. So Boston is a team that has a lot of switchable defenders. They could pretty much switch 1 through 5, and that's what they did. So they essentially neutralized Dallas's best weapon. All right, and Kyrie Irving, he played a lot of ISO basketball. He's probably one of the best ISO basketball players like in the league today, obviously, of all time. But when you're going against guys like Drew Holiday, Derek White, Brown, Tatum on a consistent basis, these are waves and waves and waves of guys who are coming at you on the defensive end. You're just playing ISO basketball. It's not a lot of movement to Dallas's offense. So it's going to be hard for even a guy like Kyrie to get off. I mean, he got off in one game, but he pretty much struggled throughout the whole series. Did not shoot very well. Shot sub 40% from the field, sub 30% from the field, or from the three-point line, I'm sorry. So it wasn't a great series for him. And Luka Doncic himself, he had a good series, but his usage rate was really high. So he had a 38.6 usage rate, which is the highest ever among players that play significant minutes in the NBA Finals. So he just had the ball the entire time, and it made it very easy for Boston to just load up on him and obviously switch, as I mentioned before. So a few more stats that I'm going to get to you guys. Points in the paint battle. Dallas won that 254 to 188. Points off of turnovers. Boston won that 78 to 60. Boston usually isn't a great team at converting points off of turnovers, but they did a very good job of that as well. Jaylen Brown in particular, he picked Luka Doncic a few times in the backcourt. Just being really aggressive with him, actually playing him full court the whole 94 feet. So I want to shout out a few players. Actually, all the players, but just a few players just for this podcast sake. Drew Holiday, in my opinion, was the MVP for this basketball team. Not the finals MVP, but in terms of what he does on a basketball court, being the glue guy, doing the dirty work, and most importantly, getting these guys out of funks on offense. Drew Holiday is the guy that's not going to settle for the three. He's the guy that's going to be in a dunker spot and get a nice little layup, get a dump off. He's the guy that's going to set a guard-to-guard screen with Brown or Tatum and slip it, play on a short roll, get a guy for a lob, or find a guy for a wide-open three instead of those contested threes or mildly contested threes. He was a guy that did that on top of being the best defender. He didn't guard Luka all that well, but that's because of his height. They left that to Jaylen Brown. He actually was 8 for 12. He held Luka to 8 for 12 shooting, 66%. It's not great. Brown held Luka to 9 for 22. Obviously a little better. Brown had a 106.5 defensive rating. Drew Holiday defensive rating was a 108. So both of those guys were dogs on the defensive end, but I think Holiday, in terms of his overall effort and just his IQ, and just knowing when to play a good brand of basketball, knowing when to not take the three, knowing when to get a good look inside. We're shooting way too many threes now. We need to get a good look inside. 2 or 3 years ago, they were not doing that with Marcus Smart, in my opinion. So I think Drew Holiday was obviously an upgrade. He's a better version of Marcus Smart. He does all the things he does and better. Plus on the offensive end, he's a plus. He's making shots as well. As I mentioned, Drew Holiday, he averaged 13 points per game, shot 53% from the field, 42% from three, and he had an 11.1 total rebounding percentage, which led the team over Jayson Tatum. Derek White, he made 3.4 threes made per game in the finals, shot at a 39% clip. He's been lighting it up all playoffs. Jayson Tatum, I know he got a lot of scrutiny because of his efficiency. His efficiency was not good at all, but in every other category, he was pretty much great. That's what I mean. Like, he's not just, categorize himself as a scorer. Like, he's doing the dirty work, but he's not shooting well. He's rebounding, he's assisting, he's doing a bunch of different things. His plus minus was pretty good as well. But he averaged 22, 7 and 7. He had a 31% assist percentage, which is on par with the likes of Jokic, Doncic, Bron, Halliburton, all the great passers in the NBA, man. He was on par with them in terms of assist percentage. So he was doing all the other things except being efficient. Kristaps Porzingis, he was really good as well. He only played about 1.5, 2 games maybe, but he was a plus 33 in the series. He did a really good job of attacking mismatches. So he would set ball screens and Dallas would switch those. He will obviously have the height advantage over these guys. He'll be at that elbow spot. He'll be at that high post spot. He'll just go to work. He'll shoot over you, take one dribble, and it's pretty much wraps from there. You can't contest it. Nothing you can do about it. He's not even going to see you on those jump shots. But let's get to the MVP, Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown. He averaged 21, 5 and 5. Played really, really, really well, man. He had a couple games where he didn't really get off scoring-wise, but in terms of his impact in guarding Luka and just being a guy that could also get to the basket, he was a guy that didn't settle for threes a lot. He got to the cup. He made the Dallas Mavericks defense honest. All right, now they had to collapse in. The fact that he's driving to the basket and they couldn't stop him one-on-one. First of all, the Mavs could not stop these guys from getting to the basket. They couldn't. So when when the Celtics wanted to get to the basket, they pretty much did at will. Never mind points in the paint. Yes, Dallas won that, all right? They're going to get that just off the strength of Boston shooting a million different threes. But Boston dribble penetration, mostly Jaylen Brown, is collapsing the defense to get guys open looks for threes. He did a great job of attacking closeouts off of Jayson Tatum's passes. That's why Tatum was so important, because he was facilitating the heck out of the ball. Out of Jaylen Brown's points, I'll probably say a third of his points were assisted by Jayson Tatum. So that shows you, man, these guys are playing well together. Tatum did a lot of different things, man, that does not show up on the stat sheet. But he did really well, man. He got Jaylen Brown a lot of open looks, and I'm happy for those guys. They could share, not the co-MVP, but they pretty much know they both had a hand in, taking these guys to the promised land and winning the whole thing. So on Dallas's end. So I did want to spend majority of this video giving kudos and props to the Celtics. I think they deserve it. They've been a great team all year. And I don't think Dallas really played bad. I just think they were outmatched. Talent-wise, just scheme-wise. at every position besides like point guard, even two guard, because Jaylen Brown played better than Kyrie Irving. But like I said, they were just outmatched, outclassed. So the biggest thing that I saw with Dallas was the lack of ball movement and player movement. I mentioned this earlier. They're a very stagnant offense, and they got by because Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving's greatness, just being like a duo, scoring off the high pick and roll, scoring off ISO possession, and guys cannot guard them. When you get guys who can really sit and make it difficult for them, it's going to make it tougher at this level of the NBA playoffs. So it was not a great series. So the thing that helped Boston and was a disadvantage to Dallas was the fact that they did not have to double. Very few times did they throw a double team or threw two to the ball at the Dallas Mavericks at Luka Doncic. That's great. Like, the Timberwolves had to double. OKC, they had to double sometimes. The Clippers, they had to double. So that's actually an advantage to Dallas. That's why PJ Washington got off in a few of those series. That's why Derrick Jones Jr. got off in a few of those series. And their percentages were very high because they were wide open. They're getting butt-naked threes. So, of course, they're going to make it. In a series like this, where Boston's switching everything, and now you're not getting these open threes. Now the threes are contested. Now you got to make a play off the bounce. They did not have that third option, which was a hindrance to the Dallas Mavericks, which is why they couldn't generate a lot of offense. Their defense was actually pretty solid in this series. It was their offense. I think they only scored 100 one time this series. Clearly, the offense was not great. PJ Washington, 27% from three. Derrick Jones Jr. wasn't that much better in that category. Luka Doncic, however, played well, fairly well. First finals, 29 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. But his efficiency wasn't great. He did shoot 47% from the field, but he shot sub 30% from three. Kyrie Irving, 20 points per game, 41% from the field, 27% from three. He had 3 games with 16 points or under. So as I mentioned before, this is mainly because the scheme of the Dallas Mavericks. A lot of ISO ball, not a lot of ball movement, not a lot of player movement. So pretty much these guys are just watching Kyrie boogie. Like, they're watching it. Like, nobody's moving. Like, they're not getting guys in different spaces. They're not getting guys to cut. They're not getting guys to move their feet, change direction, none of that. I dare you to name me any player that could sit there and ISO for a whole 5-game series for 40-some minutes, however many minutes he played, and be successful and average 30 points. I want you to name me one player that can do that. One. Every single time down at that point guard position. You're not going to really find any. Maybe one like SGA or something like that. But that's because of his height and his build. You're not going to really find too much, especially at Kyrie's size. So it's going to be difficult for him to thrive in that situation. And Kyrie having bad blood with Boston didn't help. I think he stepped on with the Lucky Charm guy, or the Leprechaun, I'm sorry, on the Boston Celtics logo, and that probably was not a great idea from him. So Dallas, I think they had a really good year. They had a really good year, and they exceeded expectations, but now they need to make some changes on the fringes just to upgrade that team and make them another title contender next season. I think they need a third option on offense. I think they could use like a Tobias Harris. I know he's on the out to Philadelphia, and we all know the 0 points in the final game. Like, I get it. He's not great right now, but I think a change of scenery will help him out, and I think he would actually thrive in that system. He's another big forward that can shoot, and he can play and make a little bit, but most importantly, he could create for his own self. All right, he could do that. He's got the 3rd or 4th defender going to be guarding him, 3rd or 4th best defender. I think he could do that. With all the attention that Kyrie and Luka gets, I think he'll be able to get off in that type of situation. But man, Dallas, like I said, man, they did a really good job. They exceeded expectations. If you're a Mavericks fan, I think you should be proud of the effort they gave and how far they came. If you're a Boston fan, you did what you're supposed to do. That has been the NBA playoffs, man. I'm so excited to show you guys what's coming next. And it's been amazing covering the NBA playoffs for you guys.